Hello, I'm Lise-Lotte. Welcome to the garden. I'm in front of my greenhouse here, and Lily has just found an apple. There's a little bit of whining because she can't decide where she wants to enjoy it. We're sitting under an apple tree here, and they're not quite ready for picking, although we did make some applesauce out of it over the weekend, but they are not quite ready. They're a gala apple, anyway, so when they fall to the ground, they are hers. So if you hear anything, that's what that is. I hope that this finds you well, and I will show you the. It's one of my. There's an interested little bee here. Some things from the fall garden, and I thought this was kind of a fun one to show you, because sometimes these things are unexpected, right? So I have some basil, not very much, but I have some, and this has gone to seed, and it just has the most beautiful stem and flower, beautiful white flower. And of course I like the shape, right? So tuck her in, and I'll pull this out so you can see it. But this lovely chocolate cosmos, if you haven't grown these, I suggest doing that. I don't grow them from seed. Here's a cosmos I do grow from seed, and the other ones, of course. This one isn't a cosmos. This is Japanese anemone. And then the roses, I'm getting a few more roses for the season, so that's kind of exciting. Anyway, so now that we've looked at the flowers in front of me, oh yes, and the oregano, as it's going to seed as well. Fantastic for cyanotype or any of the things. And a spider web, I think. Yes, there is a spider web. There we go. All right, I think that's everybody. Scabious in there, and the dahlias. So my question to you this week is, do you talk to strangers? So I have a number of times, I always talk to strangers, and I think you can feel if there's somebody who is the kind of person that would be trustworthy to speak with. Let's say that, but I mean, we can react to all of those messages or those cues that are given. So some people are, of course, you can't talk to everybody, but when you do find people that you talk to, whether you're in line somewhere or you're traveling, I found conversations when traveling are always really interesting. And years ago, when I was 18, I went across Canada from the Pacific to the Atlantic on the train by myself. I wanted to go, I was in university, and I traveled a lot with my family, but I'd been to Ottawa, which is our nation's capital, and Montreal, but I hadn't been kind of anywhere else. And I just was curious. And so I saved up my money as a nanny and somebody who cared for their household as well. Actually, funnily enough, made more money cleaning their house and ironing than I did than looking after their child. But anyway, and so I left for 2 months, and I did that, and I met lots of people on the train. Train travel for me, that's one of the reasons I love it, is that it's just that much slower. I find that airports, people are so busy, and it's more of a frantic kind of feeling to me, whereas train travel is just a slower pace. Of course, it certainly is in Canada. At that time, there was one train that went kind of on the lower way, like this more southern route, and this doesn't exist anymore, but then I came back on the sort of more the northern route. So yeah, anyway, and I had met this woman on a train between Truro and Halifax, so in Nova Scotia, like all the way on the other side so I'm in British Columbia, I'm on the Pacific side, so this is on the Atlantic side. And we sat together next to each other on the train for 5 hours, I guess. And she was working for Via Rail at that time. She had been working like in the office or doing something like that. And there had been a couple of years before this, there had been a terrible train crash, and as a result, the company realized that they needed to have all the people who worked on the train have really good first aid training, and so that's what she was doing, and so she would go, like, this was I guess I was traveling on the weekend, and I was actually going to Halifax. I was going to stay with one of my best friend's grandmas in Halifax, so that was really great, and so we were going out. I don't know if it was a Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember that part, but anyway, over the weekend, and she was then going to be doing the training for the next few days, and she said, well, are you going to see New Brunswick, which is another province? And I said, well, I don't know anybody there, and I didn't have any plans to do that. And of course, this is 40 years ago, so there's no there are no cell phones. There's like a map book. There's like, and when I say map book, I mean not a digital map book, like a paper. You have a paper map and the schedule for when the train goes, because the train would only go like once a day. So it wasn't like there, like in other places in the world where there's trains constantly. That's not the story here. And anyway, so we had a lovely conversation, and at the end she said, well, why don't you come and stay with me and my boyfriend? We have this house, and then you could stay there. We have lots of room in the house, and so you could stay there, and then we could go to the Bay of Fundy, which is like where there's huge high tides, like 9 meters high, like it's like, incredible. And so I said, okay, well, that would be great. Like, after talking with this person for maybe 3 hours on a train, we got along really well. She was older than me, and but not a ton, I guess, looking back on it. And so I remember saying to my friend's grandmother, I don't know if I should do this. Like, what if she's not at the train station? Because, like, this is a small place, and if she's not there, I don't know where I would go. Like, I don't even know how that would work. And so my friend's grandmother said to me, sometimes you just have to have faith. And so off I went. She was at the train station, and because she'd worked the weekend, she had these days off during the week. And I remember staying in this room. It was a beautiful old home that they were redoing. And the guest room that I was in was this gigantic, really tall, like high off the ground, blue bed in this very, very, very blue room. Everything was blue. And, with the eider down and the pillows, and it was just like so great. And although, I was so lucky to be able to stay, with my friend's grandmother, I'd been sleeping on the couch, which is totally fine. But this just seemed like, wow. And we had picnics, and she took me to all these different places, and we just had a great time. And then a few days later, I got on the train and carried on my journey. So at that time, and this is where sort of social media has been my friend in this way. It is that it makes it easier for me to connect with people and to sort of stay like I wasn't really the greatest pen pal, let's say that. And so social media makes it somehow seem easier. I don't know. So I hadn't really kept up with her, and so a couple of years later, I was involved with student politics at the university, and I'd gotten elected to different things. And as a result, I was going to a conference in that part of the world. And so I thought, I'm going to go a couple days early, and I'm going to go to Charlottetown again, because I just loved PEI. I just thought it was so great. And at that time, this is showing my age for sure, there was no bridge. So it was a ferry. And because of that, the train didn't go there. So you'd have to take the train to this place, and then you stay in the train station, and then the bus will come and take you over the bridge and drive to Charlottetown. So somehow the way the train schedule worked, because of course I was too young to be allowed to rent a car, so I couldn't do that. So it was all based on this stuff. So didn't have a choice. So I end up at the train station at this place in Moncton, I guess, And yeah, it was Moncton. And it was like in a movie. Like there was nobody there, and I had to wait for hours and hours until the bus came. Like I arrived in the morning is when the train dropped me off, and then it was like dinner time kind of thing when the bus was going to leave. And there was only the one bus, I guess, I don't know. And anyway, there's nobody in the train station except for one person. Yeah, it was her, Colette. And she had just broken up with her boyfriend. And it was one of those like irreconcilable differences thing. They loved each other, but one person wanted one thing and one person wanted another thing. And so there's no compromise on having children. It's you want them or you don't, and whatever it is. So, but because I was a terrible correspondent, it was kind of, it was uncomfortable, let's just say that. She had shown me all these places and I hadn't kept in touch and whatever. So, and she was also very upset. So she kind of stayed in the office and I sat out in this empty room waiting. Anyway, it's funny that when these things that remind you, right? So recently, my partner was traveling for work, and he got stuck in the airport that's in the States, just to the south of us, because I don't know why. It was something to do with the plane, that's right. So anyway, all the people were stuck there overnight and blah, blah, blah. It was this long thing. So he gets talking to all the people like in the lineup. And because, you know, when you sit there for hours and hours, and there was a really nice group of people, that's the other thing. It just happened to be a really lovely group of people. And one of the fellows, it turns out, I know his wife, and his wife has been here. And when their girls were younger, they were here. They helped with a photo shoot of mine that I had done for an earlier business that I had. And like, it was just kind of, anyway. And then he met a young woman from Germany who was coming to our university for like a term, like a summer term for art school. She was in art school doing a master's degree in Germany, but she was taking this time to do this for these months. And so, he said, oh, I met this person that you'd be really interested in meeting. I've actually invited her over because she was interested in, like, she works with children. Well, I used to work with children. She loves flowers. Yeah, okay. And she's creative. Okay. And anyway, so she's a young woman, so she comes over. We had a lovely lunch together. She was fantastic. We got talking about all the things. And she teaches art with young people. She's finishing her master's degree. And so she was here this summer, and so we got a chance to have her over a number of times. And it was so wonderful to have her energy in this garden of somebody who is open and creative and interested in the world. And, just that sort of young energy, right? It's lovely. It's lovely. And so we had family dinners together and tea and so on, and that was really nice. And then I invited her to an evening that I had done with some friends, where I'd invited some creative friends to the garden, and there were a number of people who, among other things, are artists. I really love to draw and stuff. And when she left, when we had our sort of goodbye tea until the next time we see each other, maybe in Germany, maybe here again, I don't know. She gave me some art supplies that didn't fit into her suitcase back, and which I've already used, so that was really lovely. And she also gave me the drawings that she had done the night that she was here at that evening. And what was so lovely about it is she said, I see all of these things in lines. I see the garden, I see all these things in lines. Take me back to the beginning. Yeah, no, there's more. And so she gave me these beautiful, beautiful drawings, and with a beautiful note on the back. And, it's so funny because people who do things that are like, other people go, wow, you know how to do that? They just think, oh yeah, well, doesn't everybody know how to do that? Like, it was in that feeling of, well, everybody draws, everybody sees something and then takes their pencil and puts it onto the paper and it comes out with this kind of beauty. Well, no, not that doesn't happen with everybody. And so I asked her if she would sign them, and we had a discussion whether she should sign them on the front or the back. And I said, well, I don't know what the right thing to do is. I like to have them signed at the front and then with the year, because I just think that that is a lovely thing. And that's what I do with my cyanotypes, because that's what my dad always did with his artwork, was he signed it on the front. But I guess when this person, whose name is Lorena, when she sells her artwork in Germany, she signs it on the back, because that's how they do that there and in her part of Germany. And so it's just really interesting, or maybe it's just that kind of artwork. I'm not actually sure, come to think of it. But anyway, I just think it's such a wonderful thing that when you are talking to strangers, you kind of never know. And I'm talking about the good, not the terrible stories, but I'm talking about all the good stories, because I think that most people in the world are good. And I think that for most of us, we can pick up on the ones that you don't want to be talking to, or let alone give any information about yourself to. But this was just such an enriching kind of thing for our family this summer, completely out of the blue. And you know, I've talked to people about this kind of thing in the past, and sometimes people will say, well, like, I don't, you know, like, as the young person, so now, like, I'm the older person and I'm the one who is hosting, completely unrelated. But I don't know if I thought about this before, but I have talked to other young travelers about this, of like, well, I don't really have anything to offer. Like, I don't, you know, they'll bring like something like a chocolate bar or a thing to say thank you for having me, which is so beautiful and unnecessary, but always appreciated. And I've always said, like, actually, your essence, like who you are in the world. You're curious, you've got stories, you're interested in learning, you have questions. And you know, when people have questions about the place where you live, it often gives you, as the person who lives there, more insight into the place that you're in. Like, that's when we used to host students, that's one of the things that I kind of miss about that. I don't miss the responsibility, but I miss having people ask me questions about things that I take for granted because I've just lived here for a long time. And I think that and then I start thinking about things in a different way, and I question things in a different way that I didn't even realize. And I love that. And I actually think that it's one of the things about being a creative person, is one of the things that can feed your inspiration. It's not why you do it, it's just a happy outcome of this nice exchange between different people in the world. But it can lead to friendship, and that's wonderful. And if it does, that's super. In this case, it has. But you know, it's something that wouldn't happen if we didn't just take an interest and be interesting, I guess, but be open, right, in the world to different perspectives, and particularly when you're traveling. I think that, you know, there's sort of that thing of like, you know, you're all waiting in the train station at the same time, so you could ask about, like, you know, whatever, have you gone to this place before, or, you know, do you have a favorite restaurant there, or any of those kind of things. But I do think that the deeper piece is that as the world becomes more and more dangerous because of the kinds of choices that different leaders are making, the dangerous part is, I think, and that is that we start not seeing each other as somebody's mom or somebody's sister or somebody's daughter, and see ourselves in other people, and we stop sort of seeing what we can learn from other people, and the joy that we can have in learning from other people, and being around other people, and having those kind of perspective shifts and stuff. And so then it becomes a smaller world. And I think that's, from a creative perspective, from lots of perspectives, but from a creative perspective, I think that that is a real downside. And I think as individuals, we can still do this, right? We can still show an interest in other people, have a kind word. Speaking of kind words, I was walking past, I had to go to a shop to drop off, I had to go to the post office, that's what it was, and that's at the back of the shop. That's right. And so I walked past this table with like the blue tablecloth, or am I mixing it up with the grocery store? I can't remember. But anyway, blue cloth, cancer, and I thought, oh man, I don't want to, like, she's going to ask me for some money for cancer, and or she's going to tell me about some kind of cancer. I don't really want to know. Today I wasn't, like, I was in a rush. So, but when I came back, and I had to then pass the table on the way back out, and then this lovely young, high energy, positive person said, "Hey, I love your dress. Oh, and it matches your bag. You got the whole look going on there. You look great. Hope you're having a good day." And I'm like, "Thanks." And I was like, oh, that was so sweet of her. And what a way to change my inner, like, I don't want to know about cancer. Please don't tell me about cancer. And I didn't have any money to give her there. And anyway, so it's amazing what, small acts of kindness can do, and how that can kind of change things. But it does really relate to this, and I will treasure this forever. I will remember our conversations, and I hope that we meet up again, and I hope our paths cross, and I have a feeling that we will make that happen, just because we had such a nice connection. And also, in terms of learning, like, other things that I could show, examples of things that I've been doing, for example, in GEMS. And she was telling me about different activities that she had done in the art museum where she works, where she is sharing art with, I think, adults and children. I think mostly it's children, but I think she does adult stuff too. And so there's so much crossover in that way of creativity, and one idea leads to another, and so it's just so good. Anyway, I leave you with that. I hope that you're having a good afternoon, and I wish you peace on your path.